for President Trump. So if you just joined us, make sure that you subscribe and you click that bell to catch future President Trump live events. And make sure you guys share this video on social media. Once again, we want to give a big shout out and a thank you to all the patriots who are helping out the free press through Super Chat and through membership. Now, if you want to help out Golden State Times, the best way to do it is by sharing the stream, giving it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribing and clicking that bell. Full stop. That is the best way to help out Golden State Times. This live stream is ad-free and it's powered by the people.
You and I had a chance to talk last week about that Pfizer test trial exceeding 90% effectiveness, and so we wonder what the president will say here in the Rose Garden today. A lot of people have a lot at stake here, and clearly, Neil, when you consider this is a very difficult time for a number of staffers who simply don't know if they'll be here, say, 8 weeks from now, or if they'll keep going on business as usual. All the same, the president is expected to talk about Operation Warp Speed. He wants to make sure that the American people have an opportunity to have this vaccine and that it will be free for all Americans as we continue to await his comments. I mentioned the death toll, over 240,000, and you talked about a spike in cases that also coincides with a massive surge in testing around the country, and that's something we also anticipate the president will speak about here today. And while we don't know exactly what he will say today, we do know this. This has been a major focus, not just for the president, but also for the vice president, and we look forward to the comments, as do all of the American people. I should also point this out very quickly, Neil, from the campaign's perspective, they continue to push on. They say lawsuits are going on, they continue to fight for the 2020 election outcome, and the president, we suspect, will also say, if he does take questions, perhaps he will say, yeah, he continues to fight on. Like I said, it's coming up in just a few moments, and of course we'll be here for you for live coverage, but now back to you. Gotcha. Copy that.
All right, folks, so we're going to be putting a little bit of a slow mode on the chat just so everyone can get a chance to not only be able to read the chat, but be able to write some stuff on there. So it won't be just put it for like, let's see, I think that mode here. That way everything will be good.
Yeah, quite a while indeed, and we're obviously very eager to hear what the president has to say, not just about Operation Warp Speed, but also about the 2020 election and where we are at this very hour. We've talked at great length about others. We've seen teams withdraw, and other local folks have had a chance to get involved, and so we'll obviously keep an eye on that and see if the president has something to say about that. But with respect to Operation Warp Speed, we want to know where we are. All Americans have been asking the question, might we have a possible anti-COVID-19 vaccine by year's end? You heard the president speaking at great length about that throughout the fall. And just last week, with Pfizer's test results, more than 90% effectiveness, there have been a lot of people who have felt very bullish about the idea that very soon Operation Warp Speed could in fact produce an all-important anti-COVID-19 vaccine. We don't know if that's exactly what the president will say today, although we do suspect he'll have an update on the ongoing fight against COVID-19. This, as we have seen a spike around the country, not just in cases, but also in the massive amount of testing that is ongoing in the country. We'll, of course, be here for you, but for now, back to you. Yeah. Absolutely. We've seen the president comment at length about the ongoing challenges with respect to legal battles around the country. He's actually lost a couple here in the last couple of days. Maybe he'll talk about that and maybe update us on the fight there. But I think a lot of people want to know, not just how the battle is going, but if it doesn't go his way, how might he decide to gracefully bow out and allow the president-elect, the presumptive president-elect Joe Biden, to move on and move forward. But if you talk to administration officials as much
All right, so that is Fox News that is talking. As you guys can see, they're calling Joe Biden president-elect.
that the legal challenges they have,
That is who Fox
outcomes
is.
that will ultimately prove, they say, the president did in fact win the 2020 election. I'm sure as I stand near my colleagues here in the press, we're all eager to ask him about that and other subjects, including what's happening in Iran. There are so many things happening around the world, so any chance we get to speak to the president, we try to take full advantage of it. Yeah. Indeed. Anytime. Thank you.
Just now.
OWS engages with private firms and other federal agencies, including the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Energy, and the Department of Veterans Affairs. It will coordinate existing HHS-wide efforts, including the NIH's Accelerating COVID-19 Therapeutic Interventions and Vaccines Partnership. To accelerate development while maintaining standards for safety and efficiency, OWS has been selecting the most promising countermeasure candidates and providing coordinated government support. Protocols for the demonstration of safety and efficiency are being aligned, which is how these trials are proceeding more quickly, and the protocols for the trials will be overseen by the federal government as opposed to traditional public-private partnerships in which pharmaceutical companies decide on their own protocols rather than eliminating steps from traditional development timelines. Steps will proceed simultaneously, such as starting manufacturing of the vaccine at industrial scale well before the demonstration of vaccine efficiency and safety as happens normally there. Wow, we're just picking up another tens of thousands of you that are waiting here for President Trump. We thank you for joining us here on News Now from Fox. You do know that we are the source for bringing you content, not only political, not only COVID-19 related, but when news is happening, and it's happening live, that's why we get the name News Now, because we bring it to you now. In the now, live right here for you. Earlier this week also, we should mention that HHS talked about this vaccine would be free here, and they were setting it up through the agreement with drugstores. Let me bring you that information here, because a lot of people are talking about, okay, what about a price here? Well, the federal health officials have reached an agreement with pharmacies across the U.S. to distribute free coronavirus vaccines after they are approved and become available to the public. The goal eventually is to make getting a COVID-19 vaccine like getting a flu shot. Yesterday's agreement with major chain drugstores, grocery market pharmacies, and other chains and networks covers about 3 and 5 pharmacies in all 50 states and U.S. territories, such as Puerto Rico. It looks ahead to a time next spring when yet-to-be-approved vaccines will start to become available beyond priority groups, such as healthcare workers and nursing home residents here. So be on the lookout for President Trump to be talking about that as well, as he is going to be talking about the success of this Operation Warp Speed. So many people were thinking this wouldn't have even happened. We wouldn't even be talking about this this year, that it was going to be sometime in 2021. But we did it before the end of this year. And what a year it's been, obviously, with so much heartache and pain for millions of families, not only in this country, but around the world. The announcement comes as the nation is seeing its broadest virus surge of the pandemic, and President Donald Trump has put the brakes on agency collaboration with President-elect Joe Biden's transition team. New COVID-19 cases surpassed 127,000 on Wednesday, an increase of nearly 75% from 2 weeks ago. More than 60,000 Americans are hospitalized as deaths are rising here. And this is really what we're seeing is the second wave of this COVID-19 pandemic. We saw the first wave there, March and April. Then it toned down there as there was more lockdowns across the country. And now we're seeing it ramp up once again. But this time we're all wearing the masks right now. Most of us are wearing the mask, but most of us can't get into a store without wearing a mask, and yet we're still seeing these numbers rise here. Let me give you a little timeline right now of just how this all happened with Operation Warp Speed. Let's go back to March, everyone. March 30th, the Health and Human Services announced a $456 million in funds for Johnson & Johnson's candidate vaccine. Phase 1 clinical trials began in Belgium on July 24th and in the U.S. on July 27th. The then large-scale Phase 3 clinical trial began on September 22nd of this year, making them the 4th OWS candidate to enter Phase 3 clinical trials in the United States. Let me give you some other updates here regarding the vaccine and what President Trump will be talking about here. This was the update from Pfizer and BioNTech that this was the direct statement they made to announce the vaccine candidate against COVID-19 achieved success in first interim analysis from Phase 3 study. This was the big moment that we all heard about on November 9th, just 6 days after the election, where they announced that their mRNA-based vaccine candidate for SARS-2 has demonstrated evidence of efficiency against COVID-19 in participants without prior evidence of SARS-CoV-2 infection, based on the first interim efficiency analysis conducted on November 8th, 2020 by an external independent data monitoring committee from the Phase 3 clinical study. After discussion with the FDA, the company has recently elected to drop the 32 interim analysis and conduct the first interim analysis at a minimum of 62 cases. Upon the conclusion of those discussions, the evaluable case count reached 94, and the DMC performed its first analysis on all cases. That was the update, the big update that we heard on Monday. And wow, what a week it's been, everyone. Thank you again for joining us here on News Now from Fox. If you're just joining us here, we appreciate the tens of thousands from not only around the country but around the world that is watching us right now, as we get close to more than 100,000 of you around the world easily right now that are watching and participating and waiting for the president to make some remarks. As we all know, since after the election, we haven't heard a lot from President Trump. We haven't seen a lot from him. We know that he's been tweeting, but we have not seen like we're used to. See, here in the media, we got a little bit used to the last 4 years of seeing a lot of the president. That wasn't normal in a lot of the administrations of past. We didn't see a lot of the president on a daily moments here, but this was definitely different here in the administration. We had more access. There was more news conferences and just events at the White House, and we're seeing another event pop up right here. And of course, we're bringing that to you right here on News Now from Fox as we continue to wait for the very latest there. Let's see, we're getting this shot here as the pool camera is zooming in there. That is right inside of the Oval Office. He has there's his desk right there with some of the pictures of his family. As you can see, they're zooming in the best to try to maybe sneak a shot there of the president if they were to see him, as the Oval Office is right outside, right by the door there of the Rose Garden there. It's a nice view. It's a beautiful view. And if you ever had the opportunity to walk through the Rose Garden, yes, it does smell like beautiful, beautiful roses there in that garden. It's just a real sight to see. And it's just, anytime you're at the White House, you're just proud to be an American, no doubt, as it's a great landmark, not only for our country, but just a amazing building, a show of power for the rest of the world as well. So we are now just moments away, everyone. President Trump will deliver an update on the nation's coronavirus vaccine efforts from the Rose Garden right here. His first on-camera comments in a week as he continues to contest the presidential election. The commander-in-chief will speak on Operation Warp Speed, the Trump administration's private-public partnership to accelerate the development and distribution of a COVID-19 vaccine. Trump has not addressed the nation since last Friday when he gave a freewheeling address in the White House briefing room in which he claimed his opponents were trying to, quote, steal the election from him. He also laid a wreath along with First Lady Melania Trump on Wednesday for Veterans Day at Arlington National Cemetery. The president's re-election campaign is fighting the vote count in several swing states. And if you were joining us here a little bit earlier, we did have the breaking news that President Trump's legal team has they did take away the legal challenges there in Arizona. So that was one of the big breaking news events here as well. We continue to always bring you the very latest here on News Now from Fox, everybody. Live look at the Rose Garden as we continue to wait here. President Trump just 13 minutes ago said we will be having a press conference from the Rose Garden in 15 minutes. So that was 13 minutes ago. So maybe just a couple of more moments if he's right on time with that assumption there that it would be getting going. Another shot here, that pool camera. This pool camera operator is continuing to want to get just a glimpse there of the president inside the Oval Office. We'll get to see him in a matter of moments right here as he will be addressing the media and, well, the nation as well. Wow, thanks to more than 100,000 of you that continue to watch with us here. And we know we got a lot more than that, but just on one platform, I'm looking at that. So thank you again as the numbers continue to roll in here for News Now from Fox. We don't deviate once we're in an event. Like you see here, we just wait for it. We wait for the president, and we bring you the updates as they're happening. And there's Dr. Birx just sitting down right now, part of the COVID-19 task force there. So Dr. Birx sitting down, so we should just be moments away now, everyone. Sit back and take this all in live from the White House on this Friday, as it's been now officially a week since we've heard from the president make some sort of comments. Last week was at the briefing room. This week, I don't know. All right, here as we continue to roll on, waiting for the president. Thank you again for joining us here as, wow, thanks to all the viewers that continue to pop in and join us here for this Operation Warp Speed announcement. COVID-19 vaccine. We'll try to get a little bit more information there from the president. Will he take questions? We don't know. But last Friday, if it was any indication, okay, it looks like we are getting ready, and that is the vice president making his way to sit down as well. And now we are just moments away from President Trump walking out from the Oval Office into the Rose Garden here. Anytime you see the vice president just sit down there, that's a pretty good indication. We also have Alex Azar there from the Secretary of HHS. He just sat down, came in with the vice president as well. We have the other military leaders as well, waiting for this very, very big moment, everybody. The project to develop and speed up the production of COVID-19 vaccines. This will be his first public remarks since he was doing the news conference from the briefing room yesterday. President Trump had an Operation Warp Speed meeting at the White House earlier today, and we all thought maybe he was going to have some sort of announcement inside the White House. That was a closed press event, but like we've been telling you with the transparency of this White House, we've had so many times where it's been a closed press event and then the press would be able to come on in. That didn't happen today, but then they said hours later that the president would be talking at the White House about this big and really amazing moment for not only America, but for the rest of the world to hear from Operation Warp Speed, everybody. For all our new viewers maybe that are watching along with us, now would be the perfect time for you to always check out newsnowfox.com. We'd love to have you there and be checking out our updates as we stream worldwide for you on all the big events that happen throughout the day, from COVID-19 updates to also political events as well. The people are standing up. President Trump is coming out. Let's listen in live right here on News Now from Fox.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's beautiful out here this time of year. In the past 9 months, my administration has initiated the single greatest mobilization in U.S. history, pioneering, developing, and manufacturing therapies and vaccines in record time, numbers like nobody's seen before. No medical breakthrough of this scope and magnitude has ever been achieved this rapidly, this quickly, and we're very proud of it, and had tremendous help from the military, generals, admirals, and many of the great people at the White House. Operation Warp Speed is unequaled and unrivaled anywhere in the world, and leaders of other countries have called me to congratulate us on what we've been able to do, and we've helped many countries with their ventilators and all of the problems they were having, and I'd like to congratulate everyone involved in this effort. It's been an incredible effort. As a result of Operation Warp Speed, Pfizer announced on Monday that its China virus vaccine is more than 90% effective. This far exceeds any and all expectations. Nobody thought they'd get to that level. And we have others coming which we think will be at equal level, maybe more if that's possible. In July, my administration reached an agreement with Pfizer to provide $1.95 billion to support the mass manufacturing and distribution of 100 million doses, with the option to purchase a total of 600 million doses shortly thereafter. Our investment will make it possible for the vaccine to be provided by Pfizer free of charge. Pfizer said it wasn't part of Warp Speed, but that turned out to be an unfortunate misrepresentation. They are part. That's why we gave them the $1.95 billion, and it was an unfortunate mistake that they made when they said that. We will work to secure an emergency use authorization, which should be coming down extremely soon, and my administration will then coordinate the distribution of the vaccine, and it will be approved. I think, again, it will be approved very, very quickly, we hope. The average development timeline for the vaccine, including clinical tests and manufacturing, can take 8 to 12 years. Through Operation Warp Speed, we're doing it in less than 1 year. If you had a different administration with different people, what we've done would have taken, in my opinion, 3, 4, 5 years, and it would have been in the FDA forever. This is 5 times faster than the fastest prior vaccine development in history. 5 times faster. Say it again, 5 times faster. Nobody can believe it, actually. 3 other vaccines are also in the final stages of trial. They'll arrive within a few weeks, and they will also be mass-produced, and the delivery will be very rapid. We're ready to go. The vaccine will be distributed to frontline workers, the elderly, and high-risk Americans immediately. It will be a matter of weeks. Get out very, very much ahead of schedule. Any schedule that I said we're going to be far ahead of that. We know that this virus primarily targets older populations and those with underlying health conditions, while over 99.98% of those under the age of 50 make a full and quick recovery. By giving the vaccine to high-risk individuals right away, we will dramatically reduce hospitalizations and deaths. Case levels are high, but a lot of the case levels are high because of the fact that we have the best testing program anywhere in the world. We've developed the most and the best tests, and we test far more than any other country, so it shows, obviously, more cases. By vaccinating the elderly and the high risk, we will effectively end this phase of the pandemic and allow seniors to reclaim their golden years, the golden years of their lives, which is so incredible. And it's about time that they can have those golden years. Again, this process is starting right away. Millions of doses will soon be going out the door. They're all ready, waiting for that final approval. As soon as April, the vaccine will be available to the entire general population, with the exception of places like New York State, where, for political reasons, the governor decided to say, and I don't think it's good politically, I think it's very bad from a health standpoint, but he wants to take his time on the vaccine. He doesn't trust where the vaccine's coming from. These are coming from the greatest companies anywhere in the world, greatest labs in the world. But he doesn't trust the fact that it's this White House, this administration. So we won't be delivering it to New York until we have authorization to do so, and that pains me to say that. This is a very successful, amazing vaccine at 90% and more. But so the Governor Cuomo, will have to let us know when he's ready for it. Otherwise, we can't be delivering it to a state that won't be giving it to its people immediately. And I know the people of New York very well. I know they want it. So the governor will let us know when he's ready. He's had some very bad editorials recently about this statement and what's happened with respect to nursing homes and his handling of nursing homes. And I hope he doesn't handle this as badly as he's handled the nursing homes. But we're ready to provide it as soon as they let us know that they'll actually use it. And again, it's a very safe and a great vaccine. Already we have among the lowest case fatality rates, our country, anywhere in the world, the entire world, and we've performed significantly better than our peer countries. As far as therapeutics are concerned, my administration's also made critical investments in therapies that have helped reduce the mortality rate by 85%. That's, to me, one of the most exciting things. It's incredible, some of the antibody vaccines and others that have come out and have really helped people. 85%. Last month, the FDA approved remdesivir, and we've secured enough remdesivir to treat 850,000 patients. My administration finalized an agreement with Eli Lilly to purchase the first doses of their antibody therapy, which shows amazing results. This treatment will be available completely free of cost to patients. 5,000 units have already been shipped, and many more are going out the door as we speak. We've also reached an agreement with AstraZeneca for the large-scale manufacturing of their antibody treatment, which is excellent. We expect to issue emergency use authorizations for a number of additional treatments in the near future. Tremendous promise, but remember the 85% number. That's an incredible number, but we have some tremendously promising drugs online and ready to come out. We have ensured that our frontline workers have all the tools they need. My administration's invoked the Defense Production Act and related authorities over 100 times and have made a historic investment into our industrial base. All states that requested PPE from the federal government have received the PPE almost immediately upon request. Every American who needed a ventilator has had access to a ventilator. Think of that. Very complicated piece of equipment, very expensive. And we haven't had one person in this whole country that has requested or needed a ventilator that hasn't had it. Every single request has been immediately filled. So that was something that was a great job. And now we're helping the rest of the world with ventilators because it's a very hard thing. We're producing them thousands of ventilators a month. The federal government has 22,000 beds immediately available for states and jurisdictions that need additional capacity. But we think that it's going to start going down, possibly very quickly. We'll see what happens. But with the vaccine, you'll see numbers going down within a matter of months, and they'll go down very rapidly. As we continue to combat the virus, our economy is rebounding far beyond any expectations. I see the stock market's up almost 400 points today again, and it's ready to break the all-time record. Our jobs records are incredible. The job numbers are incredible. In the last 6 months, we've created over 13 million jobs and slashed the unemployment rate by more than half. Last quarter, we witnessed the fastest economic growth ever recorded in the history of our country, 33.1%. It's a number that is more than double our highest. That was in 1952, and we've more than doubled it. The United States experienced the smallest economic contraction and the most rapid economic recovery of any major Western nation. We went down less and we went up more, which is quite a combination of facts. While healthy Americans have gone back to work and to school, we continue to spare no expense to protect the elderly and the vulnerable. According to some estimates, a national lockdown costs $50 billion a day and hundreds of thousands of jobs every single day. Ideally, we won't go to a lockdown. I will not go. This administration will not be going to a lockdown. Hopefully, the whatever happens in the future, who knows which administration it will be. I guess time will tell. But I can tell you this administration will not go to a lockdown. There won't be necessity. Lockdowns cost lives, and they cost a lot of problems. The cure cannot be, you got to remember, cannot be worse than the problem itself. And I've said it many times. And when you look at what happens during a lockdown, I just say it very loudly. It's horrible what happens with drugs, alcohol.
Warp Speed's mission is to enable and accelerate the development of vaccines and therapeutics to help control the COVID-19 pandemic and save lives. On May 15th, almost 6 months ago to the day, we stated the goal of the operation, which was to have vaccines and therapeutics available and approved for use in the US population by the end of the year 2020. We said then that while very challenging, the goal was credible and therefore was worth trying with the best, our best to achieve it. Today, we're almost 6 months later, and I think we can say that significant progress has been made. And while we are not there yet, we are close to the objective. Let me share with you some facts. If I look at the vaccine side, we've selected a portfolio of 6 vaccines using 3 different platform technologies, and we elected to have 2 vaccines from each platform technology. First platform is what's called messenger RNA, and 2 vaccines using that platform were in the portfolio, one by Pfizer and one by Moderna. The second platform is using what's called live viral vectors, and we had 1 vaccine from J&J and 1 vaccine from AstraZeneca in partnership with Oxford University. And the third platform was the recombinant protein platform with 1 vaccine from a biotech company here in the US called Novavax, and another one from a partnership between Sanofi and GlaxoSmithKline. These vaccines are now, 6 vaccines are all in the clinical development stages, and 4 of them are in phase 3 trials. And of the 4 that are in phase 3 trials, 2 have effectively completed enrollment in the phase 3 trial, and one of the 2 has announced on Monday, to, I think, thrilling information, that they had 90% efficacy. That was the Pfizer vaccine, demonstrating that vaccination is possible against COVID-19, that the kind of choices we have made in terms of the antigen selected was effective, and made us optimistic that other vaccine may also be effective. On Wednesday, the same week, just this Wednesday, Moderna, the other company with the vaccine using similar platform technology, messenger RNA, announced that they have achieved the number of cases in their trial to allow for a first interim analysis, and I would expect that shortly, probably next week, we may hear what I hope to be another very good information regarding an efficacious vaccine. The 2 other vaccines that are in phase 3 trial that are using the live vector platform, the J&J vaccine and the AstraZeneca vaccine, have recruited already a few thousand subjects in their trials. I would like to take this opportunity to invite as many Americans as possible who would like to volunteer to participate in these clinical trials, as that's the only way we are able to achieve a demonstration of the safety and the efficacy of these vaccines. The last 2 vaccines, the recombinant protein vaccines, are planned to start their phase 3 trials within the next few weeks. And while we are developing this vaccine, we haven't only looked at the clinical development, of course, in partnership with the companies that are the sponsors for the vaccine. We also invested very significantly in the manufacturing of this vaccine in such a way as to, when we have the clinical efficacy demonstration with these vaccines, we would also have vaccine doses to be able to immunize the US population. So the 2 vaccines that are completing their phase 3 trial are likely to be filing their files with the FDA for a potential emergency use authorization within the next few weeks. And hopefully, if approved, they could be used for immunization in the US population in the month of December. And we plan to have enough vaccine doses available for use in the US population to immunize about 20 million individuals in the month of December, and another 25 to 30 million per month on an ongoing basis from there on. And as of the month of February or March, if we have more vaccines approved, such as the live vectored vaccine, we may be able to immunize a larger number of Americans on an ongoing basis per month. Operation Warp Speed didn't only focus on vaccines. We also looked at therapeutics, and we have worked with a number of companies developing monoclonal antibodies in particular that are able to neutralize the virus. As Mr. President said, we have announced partnerships with Eli Lilly, with Regeneron, and with AstraZeneca. And on Monday, Eli Lilly's monoclonal antibody was granted an emergency use authorization to treat patients that are infected and at risk of hospitalization. The Regeneron monoclonal antibodies have been also filed for emergency use authorization, which is currently under review and is potentially reaching approval within the next few weeks. And finally, AstraZeneca just in the last few days has received a green light to start 2 large phase 3 trials with their monoclonal antibodies supported by Operation Warp Speed to prevent the acquisition of COVID-19 disease in very frail subjects or in very high-risk subjects as a protective alternative to a vaccine. So, potentially 2 vaccines and 2 therapeutics may be granted an emergency use authorization before the end of this year. I think it's a remarkable achievement within a period of 6 to 7 months. It is important to note that this progress has been achieved without any political interference. I said it many times. And at every step has been and is being judged by independent expert bodies, whether it's when the FDA grants the green light to go into clinical trials, or whether when the data safety monitoring boards review the safety of the studies on an ongoing basis and sometimes put them on hold, as I'm sure you have witnessed with the AstraZeneca vaccine, for instance. And these same data safety monitoring boards are the independent boards of experts that analyze the efficacy of the vaccines and the safety of the vaccines and tell the companies whether they should progress with the filing of an emergency use authorization or not. So it's not the companies, it's not Operation Warp Speed, it's not the US government, it is independent experts that assess the safety and the efficacy of the vaccines that are being tested. And when the FDA will review these vaccines and these therapeutics, they will also have the advice, public advice, from boards. One of them is called the VRPAC, that is the advisory board to the FDA for vaccine reviews. After review of the data, transparently and available to everybody to look into, before the FDA then make its decision to either authorize a vaccine or not authorize it. On that basis, I personally feel very comfortable to say that the vaccines and the therapeutics that we have helped develop and accelerate will be judged independently, and if approved, should be used by all in the population. Because I believe vaccination is likely to be the cornerstone among all the other measures that we have to take to help us really control this pandemic. I will now pass to my co-leader, General Perna, who will tell you more about the support that the operation has provided to manufacturing of the vaccine and also to their distribution. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you for allowing me to continue service of our great nation as the co-leader with Dr. Moncef Slaoui on this mission. Let me start by emphasizing for me, what is Operational Warp Speed about? It is about saving lives. And it is a Herculean task that the President put us on many months ago. And as Dr. Slaoui just laid out, we are making steady progress and we are ready to execute. Through the whole of American approach, we have leveraged the best of nation in federal government, local, states, industry, and academia to expand the capacity and capability to achieve our mission. It has been powerful. We have capitalized on the best contracting, logistics, and planning experts available to synchronize and integrate all phases of the operation, from development of the vaccine, manufacturing of the vaccine, and finally distribution of the vaccine. 6 months ago, the capacity did not exist in our nation's pharmaceutical production base. We went to work building brick and mortar manufacturing facilities, bringing in the right specialized machinery and equipment, and prioritizing supply chain materials through the Defense Production Act. Today, we expect to have tens of millions of doses immediately following EUA, and we will distribute them as soon as the FDA applies the EUA. We will do that within 24 hours of the EUA. We are harnessing the strength of commercial industry and the existing vaccine delivery capabilities and infrastructure. Our nation deserves this. Vaccines will be allocated pro rata by population so that we ensure fair and equitable across. We need the states who are part of the planning to accept the vaccine. We are working closely along with the CDC, the 64 jurisdictions and states to ensure vaccine can safely and quickly get to those who need it first. And then we have plans to ensure that it spreads exponentially across our country and that no place is left without a vaccine. At the end of the day, our success is going to be judged by the availability of the vaccine as shots go in arms. It is the partnerships we have formed with the pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Moderna, distribution companies like McKesson, FedEx, and UPS, and pharmacies like CVS and Walgreens that have agreed to do things differently, to think, how can we get this to the American people in the most rapid and expeditious way? We will be successful because of this all of America approach, this collaboration, this effort that everybody is leading towards. I will end where I started. This is about saving lives, the lives of the great American people. And we will not rest until we are successful and that we have irreversible momentum to returning our nation back to normal. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, General, very much. Great job. Alex, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, for providing the leadership that's gotten us where we are today. The success that Operation Warp Speed has realized so far has been made possible only because of the bold vision you announced not even 6 months ago, right here in the Rose Garden. To highlight 3 of the remarkable accomplishments we've seen just this week. First, Pfizer announced very promising data on its vaccine candidate. Second, the FDA authorized and we have begun to distribute and administer Eli Lilly's monoclonal antibody to help Americans at risk for serious disease stay out of the hospital. Third, another vaccine company, Moderna, announced that it's reached a critical clinical trial milestone, meaning we may see data from them within days. Back in the spring, we were told by all of the experts that a vaccine was a year or a year and a half away, and the announcements I just highlighted would have been unthinkable. The President said that's not acceptable, and thanks to the support he's provided, we're now on track to deliver a safe and effective vaccine to our most vulnerable this year. As I worked with the President to assemble this team and organize this effort, his support was indispensable at each step of the way. We went out and found the very best people on the planet to do the job, who you just talked with. Dr. Slaoui, the world's most successful vaccine developer. General Perna, one of the world's most qualified logistics leaders. When I first talked to Dr. Slaoui and General Perna about our goals and recruited them to this effort, we dreamed of being at the point we're at today, on track to achieve the incredibly ambitious goal we set together. The President gave us the full financial support we needed, enabling us to invest more than $10 billion to de-risk vaccine companies' development efforts and manufacture product in advance. Our completely unprecedented partnership with the Defense Department has given us a comprehensive public-private plan for distribution and helped each Operation Warp Speed vaccine maker secure what they needed for manufacturing, including Pfizer's ongoing production this week. Operation Warp Speed has always had one goal: saving lives. The President has given OWS the independence it needs to achieve that goal and ensured that we're following the procedures that Americans expect for any medical product they take. At every step, ensuring patient safety has been our top priority. This process has been driven solely by science and data. So it's a shame that some, one example being the governor of New York, have actually injected politics into the process and suggested the possibility of intentionally delaying access to an FDA-authorized vaccine, which is simply unconscionable. Because the President has delivered the full funding we need, the best people on the planet, and real independence for this project, Operation Warp Speed is doing something that's never been done before in history. This success means there is light at the end of the tunnel. Right now is not the time to let our guard down. We continue to encourage Americans to follow the 3 W's. Wash your hands, watch your distance, wear a mask when you can't watch your distance, and avoid settings where you can't do those things. Because of the incredible American spirit, because of what great scientists and public servants and innovators have done through Operation Warp Speed, we have such a bright future ahead of us. If we continue to protect ourselves, our families, and our communities, then I firmly believe that future will be here very soon. Thank you, Mr. President, for making that very bright future possible for the American people.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Mike Pence, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and on behalf of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, I was grateful to just have a few minutes today to commend the team of Operation Warp Speed. It was your vision that we could harness the ingenuity and the creativity of America's greatest pharmaceutical and research companies to speed in record time a vaccine that would save American lives. You told the American people that we would have a vaccine before the end of the year, and some scoffed at that timetable. But I can tell you the team on Operation Warp Speed didn't. These great research companies didn't. And as you've articulated here, Mr. President, the American people can be comforted with all the news this week that help is on the way, that literally pending FDA approval of the Pfizer vaccine and perhaps very soon another vaccine that will be submitted by Moderna and even other companies that before the year is out will be able to administer a vaccine to tens of millions of Americans, as you've said, Mr. President, beginning with those most vulnerable, beginning with our seniors all across this country, beginning with our healthcare workers and first responders at the point of the need. It is an unprecedented medical mobilization, the greatest in the history of our country, and I join you in commending this team. Let me also say, Mr. President, that the White House Coronavirus Task Force will be meeting with our nation's governors in our regular conference call this Monday. We'll be reviewing with them the progress on the development of a vaccine, our plans for distribution, but we'll also be reviewing each and every state's specific plans for distributing the vaccine. Continue to urge governors to have those plans developed and prepared and ready for immediate implementation. And finally, Mr. President, as we see cases rising around the country, as we see hospitalizations rising around the country, I want to encourage the American people with the news that as we have done from the very beginning, we're going to continue to move heaven and earth to make sure that your family has access to the level of health care that we'd want any one of our members of our family to have. I spoke to FEMA today, and as we heard reported at our last task force meeting, Mr. President, we're receiving requests from states for PPE, for personnel, but we're meeting all of those requests. And according to our team on the ground, we continue to believe that we'll be able to meet the requests for PPE and equipment, both from the Strategic National Stockpile, also from the commercial market, to make sure that those needs are all met. And the American people can also be confident because of the system that you established that since this past July, we're actually able to track PPE, gowns and gloves and N95 masks on a hospital-by-hospital basis, so we can continue to deliver, as you said, Mr. President, on that extraordinary record in America where no American who's ever required a ventilator has ever been denied a ventilator. No American who's ever required an ICU bed has ever been denied an ICU bed. So the good news today through Operation Warp Speed, Mr. President, is help is on the way. It's on the way right around the corner. As one of the members of our task force said recently, the cavalry is coming, but we want to encourage every American that we're going to continue to make sure that our healthcare system has the resources to support the equipment and supplies that they need. And we also, Mr. President, as we see cases rising, particularly in the heartland of this country, but in communities all across America, we encourage every American, as the Secretary did and as you have, continue to practice good hygiene, wash your hands, practice social distancing, wear a mask when that's not possible. We all have a role to play. We all know what to do to protect the vulnerable, to look after our families and our neighbors and friends. And we encourage every American, with all the good news this week, to continue to be persistent in putting the health of yourself, your family, your neighbors, co-workers, and friends first. And we'll get through this. And we'll get through this together. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mike. And thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
And there we go. President Trump taking no questions after that White House event, Operation Warp Speed, as he talks about the vaccine for COVID-19, a really historic moment. A lot of people didn't think it was going to be happening this quick within even this year. And by the end of this year, they are saying that the vaccine will help some 20 million Americans just by December alone. And then by April, the general public should be getting it. So soon, when that vaccine is released, it's going to go to the health professionals as well as those that critically need it, including our senior citizens there as well. But this is just a big moment right there from the White House, historic moment, given everything that we've seen from this pandemic, how it just shaped the lives and ruined the lives of millions of people around the globe and hundreds of thousands dead here in the country. So we were bringing you that news conference in its entirety. I looked at some of the networks. They got off as soon as President Trump was done making his remarks here on News Now. We don't do that. We stay with the program and we stay on the event. So you get to see it just like if you were in the White House Rose Garden yourself here today. So that was the big moment there. A lot was to be made, and history was made there at the White House. No questions there that President Trump took. He's back now in the White House, and we continue to bring you the very latest here on News Now from Fox, everybody. In just a little bit, we will have Andrew Kraft up here, and he will be providing you coverage from across the country, COVID-19 updates, and so much more, including the very latest with Election 2020. So you're not going to want to go anywhere right now. It is now coming up on 5 o'clock Eastern. Thank you to all the hundreds of thousands of you that continue to watch News Now from Fox. If you haven't already done so, check us out at newsnowfox.com, where we continue to stream and bring you the coverage worldwide. Thank you so much. As Andrew Kraft up next here as News Now from Fox does continue. Yeah.
Because we have some.
As we showed you the update there from the White House, we're going to keep it COVID-19 related right now. Take you out to Illinois, where really Illinois is on the verge of a statewide lockdown. They got the numbers today, made history once again. Obviously, the numbers that they don't want to see, more than 15,000 confirmed cases in the state of Illinois. So that is something that you don't want to see. Yesterday, Chicago said, starting on Monday, that they will be locking down for 30 days. And then today, the Cook County that holds Chicago, as well as several of the many of the suburbs around Chicago, said that they will be doing the same lockdown starting on Monday. Looks like J.B. Pritzker, the governor, a Democrat from Illinois, is on the verge there of making it a lockdown for the state. Let's listen in right now.
Access housing support that they need, truly making a difference in the lives of so many people across our state. Housing stability has been crucial to helping mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and keep people safe. Since the beginning of this pandemic, I've insisted that people need to be able to stay home without fear of eviction, because too often, for too many, eviction leads to shared housing, congregate settings, or even homelessness, all concerning risk factors for catching COVID-19. With or without this current crisis, everybody deserves a place to lay down their head at night. And it's even more salient right now that we do everything we can to protect against adding to our homeless population. On August 10th, I launched the largest housing assistance program in the nation in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, dedicating our $300 million to help households pay their rent and their mortgages through this financial difficulty. To date, we've awarded $182 million in assistance to support 36,400 renters suffering financial hardship from the pandemic who are unable to make their monthly payments. That's $5,000 per renter, tens of thousands of times over. This funding is sent directly to landlords to pay the rent that's owed. In addition, 4,300 homeowners who lost a job or saw their income decline due to the COVID-19 pandemic have been approved for $36 million in emergency mortgage funds to help stave off foreclosure, with $30 million already delivered to service providers around the state. By the end of this year, we will have assisted 40,000 renters and landlords with $200 million in rent payments and 10,000 homeowners with $100 million for their mortgage payments. Even with all of that positive impact, people are still...
All right, some of you will be going to a 2-minute break here on News Now from Fox, and when you come back, we will still have Governor J.B. Pritzker providing the updates on Illinois.
Both the rental and mortgage assistance programs were oversubscribed 2-to-1, and that's not even counting people in need who might never have applied at all. The people, businesses, landlords, renters, workers, states, local governments, and entrepreneurs of this country are in deep, profound pain, and we need new congressional stimulus for people in this country as soon as possible. But because we can't just wait around for the Republicans in the U.S. Senate to take action, I'll also be extending the moratorium on evictions for an additional 30 days. It's the right thing to do to protect our most vulnerable residents. But landlords and property owners are a crucial part of Illinois' housing cycle, just as much as renters, and they deserve protection too. So with input from smaller landlords and property owners, this new moratorium will ensure that the rents are paid by tenants who may have been taking advantage of the eviction moratorium, but who are in fact able to make their monthly rent payments. In line with the CDC eviction ban, only renters who have earned no more than $99,000 in annual income or $198,000 as joint filers for this calendar year are covered under this extension. Renters unable to pay will be required to submit a declaration form to their landlord certifying that they are unable to pay their rent due to the substantial loss of income or an increase in out-of-pocket expenses stemming from the pandemic. This form will be available on the Illinois Housing Development Authority website for easy access. Just visit that website at ihda.org. This new order also clarifies that enforcement of pre-pandemic eviction orders can indeed move forward if there are serious health or safety concerns. We extend this protection for housing stability as we ask Illinoisans in every part of the state to stay home as much as possible, because the situation we face now is increasingly dangerous for healthcare workers and hospital systems, especially in every part of our state. More Illinoisans are in the hospital battling COVID-19 now than we saw at our highest average in the spring. And increasingly, we have regions at risk for potential ICU bed shortages and staffing shortages as our case rates continue to rise. As our positivity grows, so does demand for testing. Today, we've reached a new high in our testing rate with 106,540 tests returned in the last 24 hours. Our 7-day testing average has now surpassed 93,000 tests per day, more than 10,000 higher than the next best testing state and more than 35,000 higher than the next best testing state in the Midwest. That's good news, and we're continuing to build on that as our capacity allows. Find the site nearest you to get tested at our website at dph.illinois.gov/testing. And check back regularly because we offer mobile sites in new locations all the time to meet local need. And remember, these tests are free and fast and available to anyone who shows up, though some of our most visited community-based testing sites are hitting capacity before the end of their normal operating hours, so come early if you can. Please use our testing resources. The earlier you test, the more likely you can limit the spread of the virus to your family, friends, and coworkers. But it's not enough to test alone. So let's wear our masks, avoid gatherings, and follow public health mitigations. In addition to the health benefits to you, you'll be helping protect our heroic healthcare workers. Remember, they're now working extremely long hours like they did last spring, actively saving lives on the front lines of this pandemic. Preventing the spread of COVID helps keep our healthcare workers healthy. And in the midst of this COVID storm, protecting nurses and doctors may mean the life of someone you care about will be saved, maybe even yours. Thank you, and with that, I'd like to turn it over to the Director of the Department of Public Health, Dr. Ngozi Ezike.
We were just listening to Governor J.B. Pritzker there give an update on the coronavirus case numbers in his state of Illinois, and we do want to go out now to a different story that we're following as well, something a little lighter, something a little more scientific, if you will. This is the Atlas V rocket launch leading up to this at Cape Canaveral, Florida. So I wanted to show you these pictures. This is coming to you from a handout from ULA there, and this is at Cape Canaveral. And I believe this rocket launch will be taking place later today at some time. We're going to get more information for you on this. And there you just saw the command center who are gearing up for this launch. And a lot of these launches have special missions, special directives. Some are just cargo missions, essentially, to the International Space Station. So quickly finding out what this will be for, essentially. So barring any interruptions or any delays with weather or, equipment malfunction, what have you, this launch will take place tonight at 5:24 p.m. Eastern. So in about a little less than 15 minutes from now. As you know, the Cape Canaveral is on the Atlantic side, the Atlantic coast of Florida. Still in the kind of twilight dusk hours at the moment there. And this is the powerful Atlas V rocket. It'll be carrying, and now we have the information for you on what its mission is. It'll be carrying a classified national security satellite built by the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office. And I believe just a couple months ago we were showing you these launches on the platform with similar missions, working public and private partnerships really to send up these spy satellites in space to protect kind of the space frontier for the United States. The rocket boosters themselves were built by Northrop Grumman, the very large, very powerful defense contractor. And for those science buffs out there, and for those who love physics, the Atlas V main engine has about 860,000 pounds of thrust, in addition to somewhat upwards of 373,000 pounds of thrust in the boosters for the rocket. So I believe this was slated to launch coincidentally on election night, November 3rd, but it had to be scrapped. So this is the redo of that.
Roger. LCRC-1. Go RC. Range is approved, 2230 Zulu T0. That was 2232. That's good copy. All right, team, clocks are set. We have an approved T0 of 2232 Zulu. Currently approaching L-minus 17.
And as you just heard, Launch Conductor Scott Barney verifying the team is now realigned to the new T0 of 2232 Zulu time, which equates to 5:32 p.m. Eastern time. That puts us at just over 17 minutes prior to liftoff. The next major milestone will be the terminal count status check, and that'll be occurring in about 10 minutes. As I mentioned earlier, today's launch is ULA's 29th for the NRO. Let's take a look at the huge role the NRO plays in the security of our country.
T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.